Hi, friends. Thanks for watching and God bless. I just wanted to do a video about what I'm learning. So, I'm listening to this medical anthropology book called Honey Mud Maggots and Other Medical Marvels. And I found this book, I think, in like 2005 or something like that. Um, Really fascinating book about the history of these wild and wacky things like honey mud maggots. So one of the chapters talks about the use of clays, the really fine clays that's used to make porcelain, pottery, has been used for health reasons. And if you've done any kind of detoxing, you know that clay is good for like helping your body fight parasites or remove toxins. Sort of similar, like activated charcoal is popular now, or is zeolite. And so that was interesting. And then, honey and sugar has been used for wound healing because there's some sort of physics, osmosis, that when you and of course, I'm just talking about what has been used historically. This is just uh, something that I'm learning from this book. So, if anybody has any medical concerns, it's important to consult. Perhaps you're a doctor, so you can you can make, but just try, confer, discuss things with your trusted uh, healing provider. I'm just sharing what I'm learning. So in the throughout history, sugar and honey has been used, or iodine in sugar. It's either iodine in sugar or iodine in honey also has been used for wound healing. And I think that's just good to keep in mind, just in case if you're ever, you know, out on a desert island or in some crisis, a war is going on and there's no care, there's no medicine, no hospital. I think it's good to know these things. Clay has also been used when there's a famine that's been going on, and I remember seeing a video about it, like in Africa, I think it is, where these patties, clay patties, are used, and people are just living off of eating the soil, basically. It's a special kind of soil that's selected. It's not just eating dirt off the ground. And it reminds me of The Good Earth, that book about the Chinese famine. And it's so interesting how Americans generally are clueless about what happened in China. Like that book is by Pearl S. Buck, and it's interesting because I was a child going to elementary school in the 70s and 80s, and there would be children from China, fresh from China, fairly, and even then, the children did not really talk about their parents' experience, uh, and it's only just kind of paying attention or just observing people make reference. Like the greatest Holocaust was in China, where the Communist Party killed the Chinese people. But anyways, I digress. So in a famine, people have eaten clay, and I think that's a good, it looks like our civilization is crashing, and I think it's really important, even though things are crashing, the supply chain is being sabotaged. I think it's good to know, okay, where is a good source of clay? Like, we can actually still buy good clay at the health food store. I think it's good to have that as a last ditch food source, or how to handle famine, kind of a thing. um, and like, what kind of got me to do this video is this condition called Porphyria, I think it is. I'm still new to the topic, um, pardon my delay here. Porphyria. And I guess it could be called Phyria for short, maybe. But I will add more in the links below. But this Porphyria I'm wondering, so this used to be a common thing that medicine addressed, and nowadays it's called this rare genetic disorder. And when I look it up, when I look up all the stuff about it, I'm like, wow, this sounds like a lot of what mysterious illness exists. And hence the title of Hey, Hi Thief of Arts. Um, uh, Portlandia. I'm not sure what that's about, but what good morning to you. But what I'm realizing is that medicine knows what the diseases are, and they just hide it. Because I experienced this with Lyme disease. Uh, Doctors are clueless about Lyme. They're uninterested in finding out what the problem is, even though the client is giving them symptoms like, textbook symptoms of Lyme disease or whatever. And I have oh okay, so the TV show was a comedy for sure. I never watched Portlandia, um I mean, Portlandia, from what I hear, because I was living in Portland when that show was going on, and I was just like, I'm not going to watch a TV show about the people that I'm interacting with, basically, or maybe even like people who are like me. It just seems so like navel gazing ish kind of a thing. But I mean, maybe there's some irony about uh, the Portland mindset and medicine, but it seems like medicine either willfully, for the most part, I think it's absent-minded, but I think medicine has hidden the solutions. Like they knew about porphyria, they know about certain illnesses, and they know what the solutions are, but they're willfully ignorant, and they just keep patients running in circles. And it's taken me like 3 decades to kind of figure out, oh, I have Lyme disease and what all that's about. And and the thing is, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. And when you have chronic Lyme disease, a lot of things kind of fall away. I mean, you don't really have the same structure. And especially when you have Lyme disease and it's in the record, doctors don't like you. Doctors treat you like dirt, because I don't know, like it's just there's just something about it. But also, I wanted to, because I'm listening to this audiobook called Honey Mud Maggots and Other Medical Marvels, and they were talking about urine therapy and how it was used throughout history for wounds, like when soldiers were in the field and there wasn't fresh water to clean off their blisters. They would pee into the helmet and soak their feet in the helmet, and that would help relieve the blisters and, probably prevent infection and whatnot. And so I think it's important for us uh, to know this information, that urine therapy can be used when there's no water. It can be used to wash wounds. And properly used, it can be used as a medicine. Urea is the most studied bodily fluid of them all. It's used in high-end facial creams, and it's used in medically. I have a hard time using it, but there's so much science behind it. And if there is no water, I think it's important to realize, well, if you're not sick, you can actually use your urine to clean a wound and more. And so again, clay is a good famine type of backup in case where there's no food. if you have some bentonite clay or whatever that you can get from the health food store. And I think it's good to stock up on stuff like that from the health food store if you can afford it. And keep in mind, like iodine and the honey and or sugar can be used for keeping wounds clean. So I just wanted to do a little piece about that. That that science knows what's making us sick. They're willfully ignorant about it, and because it keeps us running in circles, and that there's easy things you can do uh, for. Well, so I guess I'm doing two kind of complete different topics. Like, okay, so if there's a crisis, make sure you have some clay. Make sure that you're you're informed about alternative water sources in case you're stranded somewhere, and know about honey, iodine, and sugar as like wound um, treatments in case you don't have something more conventional. and and again, this is just something that I'm learning or hearing about from this book, and it's important to maybe test these things out. uh, for instance, I've tried to use urine for like athletes, but I didn't notice anything bad happen from it. I didn't notice a lot of results either, but it's legendary. And I have heard about like honey being used for healing. Again, it's just a word of mouth kind of a thing. Um, but if there's something really kind of catastrophic, I don't know if I would apply these things unless, again, if somebody was in a desperate situation. So, if you know of other kind of really good ideas, like things you would never think of, please suggest it in the comments below. While we still have the internet, like yesterday, YouTube had, for some reason, I couldn't get into my folders on YouTube. Like 10 years of my organized folders of what I listen to or watch on YouTube. I couldn't access it yesterday, so I don't know what YouTube is doing. But last week Facebook was down, so let's make the most of the ability to share information while we still can. And who knows, things might be just fine. But I think I like to be prepared. That's kind of just makes sense to me. So God bless, and thanks for being there, and see you next time.